We're creatures of habit, and many of these habits are instilled in us. We do them automatically without really putting much thought into them. Some habits we form are good habits, like brushing our teeth and working out, but some aren't so good. And in this video, I'm going to talk specifically about these 7 money habits that keep you poor. Now, before I realized that I had these 7 bad money habits, I was in $200,000 of debt, had never invested, and wasn't saving money. But after I identified these 7 bad money habits, I was able to get out of debt, save money, invest, and build passive income by simply replacing my bad money habits with good money habits. Because the thing to realize about money habits is if you're going to change your financial situation, if you want to stop living paycheck to paycheck, if you want to build actual wealth, you have to change your money habits. Because otherwise, that's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. And changing your money habits starts with recognizing and pinpointing the bad money habits that you have, since a lot of them are mindless. You probably don't even realize you're doing them. Then you're going to replace them with good money habits. So let's begin. Hey guys, it's Erica Kohlberg. I'm a lawyer obsessed with personal finance. So what we'll do is we'll go through all 7 bad money habits first. Then towards the end of the video, I'll share how you're actually going to switch these bad habits into good habits. Number 1 is not knowing where your money's going to go each paycheck. When your paycheck gets deposited, if you're like most people, then you're going to first use it to pay off monthly expenses like your rent and your phone bill and credit card debt. Then maybe you start thinking about how you're going to treat yourself for your hard work. Maybe you'll get that thing that you've been eyeing on Amazon. Then after all that's done, if there's any left over, then as an afterthought, maybe you'll put the leftover money into your savings account or invest it. That's where you're going wrong. It actually needs to be the total opposite. You have to pay yourself first. And what I mean by this is the moment you get your paycheck, first, take a certain amount, whatever you've decided fits within your budget, and put that into savings. Then from there, you'll go down the chain of paying your fixed monthly expenses like your rent and phone bill, and then your variable expenses like shopping. Because if you choose to do it the other way, where savings is your last priority, then even if you get raises, you're going to have a hard time saving up because of something called lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is where as your income increases, so do your expenses. Each time you get a raise, you're going to upgrade to that nicer car or house or phone. Think of Parkinson's law but applied to money. Parkinson's law says that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. When you apply it to money, that means that our desires and our expenses are going to increase depending on our paycheck size to consume as much of that paycheck as possible. That's why unless you break this bad habit, even if you're making 6 figures, you could be living paycheck to paycheck. So how do you break it? You have to start with a budget and with paying yourself first. Build that habit of saving as soon as you get your paycheck. An easy budget to start with might be what's called the 50-30-20 rule, where 50% of your income goes towards essentials like rent and food, 30% is for discretionary spending, and 20% is for savings or paying off debt. You can adjust those percentages to see what works for you, but that's a good starting place and will get you into this habit of knowing that a certain percentage of your paycheck has to be set aside for your savings. Bad money habit number 2 is relying too much on credit cards. Credit cards are a tool. They're a convenient way to pay bills and cover everyday expenses. And on top of that, many credit cards offer reward points through which you can earn cash back, points, or miles that enhance the value of paying with a credit card over cash or debit cards. Use them wisely and pay them off on time and it's a win. But if you're over-relying on them, that's when it becomes problematic. And the credit card companies are hoping that you'll be irresponsible with your credit cards because that's how they make their money. They charge you interest, and the average credit card interest rate in the US is almost 15%. That completely cancels out any of the reward benefits that you get. And the average US household carrying credit card debt is going to pay over $1,000 on interest in a year. So again, credit cards are a tool. They aren't inherently good or bad, but it's about how you use them. And studies show that people end up spending more with credit cards versus cash. So if you're using them to fund a lifestyle you wouldn't be able to afford in cash, you're falling for the credit card company's trap. Bad money habit number 3 is focusing only on savings. If you want to improve your financial situation, there are 2 ways you can do it. You can save more of your existing income, or you can make more money. Ideally, a combination of both. The problem is people tend to only focus on one side of the equation, the saving money part. For me at least, I was always good at that saving part of the equation because that's what I grew up seeing and learning how to do. But by definition, there's only so much of your existing income that you can save. That's going to be capped. Cutting coupons and budget grocery shopping is only going to get you so far. And also, just saving your money is always going to be a losing game because of inflation. Your $1 becomes worth less and less each year. So to truly build wealth, you have to be thinking about both sides of the equation. How are you going to save a larger percentage of your income? But then also, how are you going to make that existing money work for you? And how are you going to make more money? That side of the equation that tends to get ignored, making more money, is powerful because it doesn't have a cap. There's unlimited potential upside. Whether it's investing your money in the stock market so that you can take advantage of the power of compounding, or asking for a raise, or starting a side hustle and creating additional income streams, you want to break the bad money habit of thinking that saving more money is the only way to increase your wealth. Cutting coupons does not make millionaires. Bad money habit number 4 is ignoring your debt. The average American family has over $6,000 of credit card debt. We live in a country where debt is normalized. It's normal to have credit card debt. It's accepted that to get a college degree, you probably have to take out student loans. But it can create this vicious cycle where you're trapped, because even as you're making payments towards your debt, that interest keeps eating up your payments, and it's hard to tackle the principal of the loan. You feel defeated. Because I had over $200,000 of student loans when I graduated from law school, this was a bad habit that I had to break. When something is overwhelming and weighing you down, there are 2 ways you can go. One, you can ignore it, and that might feel good in the short term, but has long-term consequences. Or you can tackle it and say, look, I'm going to face it. With my debt, I just didn't want to think about it. I ignored it because that seemed easier than confronting it. Once I decided to break this bad habit and face my debt, that changed everything for me. It wasn't fun, but it forced me to come up with an action plan for how I was actually going to tackle the debt. Here's how you're going to break the habit of ignoring your debt. If you see your debt as one massive thing you need to tackle, that's overwhelming. Me against my $200,000 of debt would be like me in a ring with Mike Tyson. Not good. But if you can instead break it into smaller goals, like how much you need to put towards your debt each month in order to pay it off in a certain number of years, then suddenly it seems more attainable. Bad money habit number 5 is not investing early enough. I used to be scared of investing. I thought it was the thing for rich people, and I didn't even know how to get started. We're not taught it in school, and yes, there are plenty of resources on the School of YouTube, but it was still just too intimidating for me. Another reason people don't start investing is because they push it off to a one-day thing. One day when I have enough money, I'll start investing. But the longer you put it off, the harder you're going to have to work to play catch up. Here's a simple chart to show you how that works. Michael invests $1,000 a month from age 25 to 35, then just allows compound interest to do the work. He never puts a single dollar in after. Jennifer doesn't start until she's 35, and from 35 to 45, she puts in $1,000 a month. Sam waits until he's 45, and then same thing. For 10 years, he puts in $1,000 a month. They each put in $120,000, same amount. But at retirement at age 65, assuming 7% growth, look at the ending balance. That's the simplest way to visualize why investing early matters. You can't play catch up without working harder. You don't need thousands of dollars to start investing, but the earlier you can start, the better. You can start with $50 a month. And as a little gift, if you click on my link below, you're going to get some free stocks to kick off your investing journey. Bad money habit number 6 is wasting your money to impress people that you really don't care about. There's $200 billion in this picture and not a single Gucci belt in sight. Because Gucci, Armani, Louis Vuitton, their target demographic isn't wealthy people. No, their target demographic is people who want to look rich. So you have to ask yourself, would you rather be rich or look rich? When I had to break this bad habit, I realized that it came down to insecurity. When I was in my early 20s, I was insecure about not having money, so I tried to overcompensate. I wanted to fit in with these other girls in college who had these nice things, so I used my paycheck from Subway to buy the $200 Coach purses instead of putting that money towards something useful. But trying to fit in and keep up with the Joneses, it's a never-ending cycle, because once I got the Coach purses, then I went to law school and everyone had Louis Vuitton purses, which I just couldn't afford at the time. So then I felt insecure about my Coach purses that I was so proud of before. And if that's how I was seeking validation, It was never a game that I was going to win. And I realized that it's also about who you're surrounding yourself with. Be open with your friends about your financial goals and your constraints, and let them know that you don't want to go to the most expensive restaurant in town or can't afford that girl's trip to Vegas. Good friends will be understanding and accommodating. If you're surrounding yourself with people who derive value from the things that they have, what brands they're wearing, what cars they're driving, and make you feel inferior for not keeping up, maybe it's time to assess who you're spending time with. There's always going to be someone who has something nicer than you. Nicer car, nicer house, nicer purse. If you spend your life just trying to keep up and waste your money buying expensive things to give others the impression that you have money, you're just filling the pockets of these companies while depleting your own pockets and hurting your own future. Focus on being rich instead of looking rich. Bad money habit number 7 is not figuring out how to legally avoid taxes. About a decade ago, Warren Buffett famously said that he paid a lower tax rate than his secretary, thanks to tax loopholes and deductions that are designed to benefit the wealthy. The rich have knowledge of legal corporate structures that come with tax advantages. They can afford the best tax lawyers and accountants to help them figure out how to minimize their tax burden. If you're an employee working a 9 to 5, you're effectively working 4 or 5 months out of the year for the government, because that money goes straight to Uncle Sam. So the bad habit is not seeking out ways to minimize your tax burden. If you want, I can make a video about the top ways to legally avoid taxes. So if you're interested in that, just let me know by commenting legal in the comments below. If you're not already doing it, an easy way is to start putting money into a retirement account so that you can get a tax benefit. For a Roth IRA, for example, you're going to put in your after-tax money, but then when you're ready to take that money out, all of the money you put in plus the growth is going to be tax-free. Now that you know those 7 bad habits, how are you going to switch them into good habits? The key is not trying to tackle them all at once. You want to start small. For a new habit to actually form and stick, it has to be easy enough to implement that it can become routine. If there's too much friction, it's not going to work. So to form better money habits, maybe your first thing is simply tracking what you're spending. Or even less friction, downloading an app that tracks the spending for you. Then you build on that, because these little changes that seem insignificant at first are going to compound. If you enjoyed the video, hitting the like button would be super appreciated for the YouTube algorithm. I'm here twice a week with a new personal finance video, and if you want free stocks, you can click on the link below to claim those free stocks. Have an amazing day.